but you should get them on the HSN. It'll make, hi! Yeah, it's really good for you guys. Happy Tuesday. You guys having a good Tuesday? You are. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready, kids. Oh, what is Shannon eating? Is that like a moon pie? What is that? Or is that like a beef jerky moon pie?
Shannon like that. Shannon, you eat your snack.
Shannon, what was that snack that you were having? Now, I am the beef jerky queen, but beef jerky, I think it's in bed with the floss industry. Can't they make beef jerky that's not stringy? I just feel like they can. All right. I'm ready.
First question of the night. Wait,
hold on.
Karen.
Yes.
First of all, let me mute you on my phone. Okay, second of all, did you just say beef jerky that's not stringy? Have you never been to Bourgeois? Is your daughter failing you? Of all the times that you go to Home Depot, you've never been to Bourgeois?
What's Bourgeois?
Bourgeois is a meat market. When you take the exit to go to Homa, instead of going right to Homa, take the left, just go back a little bit. There's a Bourgeois meat market, and they have beef sticks that are amazing, and they're not very stringy at all.
And here's a question for the committee. Is there celery with no string? No. Yeah. Celery, coconut, and beef jerky is all my love language, but they are not anybody else's love language. Okay, Bourgeois. My grandchild was here this weekend. He said, what are these? I said, these are sidewalks. And his other grandmother lives in Louisiana. She goes, we don't have sidewalks. Why do you have sidewalks? I said, because we're bougie. That's how we're doing.
Right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, my daughter, who's in kindergarten, has been in a charter school since August 14th. They hired a speech pathologist on contract, but have not obtained one for this school year. That means she has missed 3 weeks worth of time in speech. They keep telling me that they'll make up the minutes when they hire one. Isn't this illegal?
Oh, my love. Here's the problem with charter schools. They're charter schools. I love you, and I know your other 84 kids go there, but in 27 years, I've not had one child be anywhere near anything like successful in a charter school. And I love parents, but they get very attached to the siblings being there. I have not ever had a child successful at a charter school anywhere. But yes, it's illegal to be in a federally funded school to not get your related services. So I would definitely track that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Twice now, the gen ed teacher has been missing from the IEP meeting. The first time, they tried to place her with an interventionist, and this time they replaced her with a math specialist. Do these meet requirements of a gen ed teacher?
So you actually didn't have you didn't have an IEP meeting because the general ed teacher is a requirement. So you need to go back and have your IEP meeting, and it needs to be a general ed teacher that teaches your child. And so I would just say I would like to have the meeting today. Unfortunately, because some of the members are missing, we are not convened, and so it wouldn't be legal for us to proceed.
Okay. Karen, is it true that you only have one training open for the rest of the year?
It's true, and I was already yelled at by AC about it. Yes, that is the last training of the year. It's just crazy busy. We are all crazy busy this fall with commitments. So September 16th and 17th is going to be the last live 2-day intensive. Certainly you can take the intensive at any time on demand, but that will be live whether you're in a balcony, the beach, bingo, a blanket, bathtub. If you're in the bathtub, we would prefer that you keep your camera off during the training. Yeah.
All right, what's the obligation to use a trained ABA specialist to conduct the behavior portion of the ETR?
None. There's no obligation for ABA ever in public schools. It's not in IDEA. It's never going to be. It's never any state statute. If you have the blessing of having access to a BCBA or an ABA specialist in your district, county, or city, that's a blessing, but it is not a requirement. You certainly need a professional in that space. I would either ask for a behavioral assist from the district, somebody that's a specialist from the district, or an LSSP, a licensed specialist in school psychology, an LPC, or a social worker.
Okay, I'm going to continue this question. There's multiple parts to it. This person goes on to say, we expect an occupational therapist to assess gross motor, a physical therapist to assess fine motor, an SLP to assess speech and pragmatic. Why would we not expect a behavior specialist to assess behavior?
Because there's lots of persons in a district that have in their scope and practice They have specificity and training in behavior. So it's not just locked down to an ABA person.
Okay. All right. I think this might be from a teacher. What does a parent do when the SLP and the school district agree to change the current AAC program, but the parents don't own it at home? Does the district pay for it, or do the parents have to?
So when a student has a VOCD, a voice output communication device, they met eligibility for that. And so that has a certain application. So let's say that we're using a Tobii Dynavox, we're using a Big Mac, we're using, something else. Then he met eligibility for that application. If we go back and retest and there's a better application that serves him currently, then we will use that. But the VOCD is to go home and at school, and I just got off a meeting, and listen in. Everybody listening? You listening? If you're a parent and your child has a VOCD, you need to pull the minutes every night when you get home. And I just got off a call with a family, and her child's VOCD yesterday, the buttons were punched 8 times. Did you use 8 words in an instructional day? So pull the minutes. If you don't know how to pull the minutes, you can reach out to the person that makes your device. All of those companies, whether it's Tobii, Dynavox, any of those companies will have an online, they have online groups for Facebook or any of that, or you can reach out to them directly to find out how you pull those minutes. They are paramount. Additionally, if your child has a VOCD, make sure that you are invoking your rights to the Assistive Technology Act of 1998, which is a congressional act which requires for school districts to provide services and minutes to a student with an assistive technology need and devices.
Yeah, that's super important. Okay, so I have a child that is 11 years old, but still needs a lot of help toileting. The school doesn't really want to help change diapers and wet clothes. In fact, the school even sent home the poo in a bag in the backpack. What can I do?
I'm going to compose myself for a second. So I would immediately get representation and file with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. That's obscene, that's egregious, and it's so discriminatory. So if your child is 22 and they go to public school and they need toileting or restrooming, we provide that. Oh my gosh. So that's a problem. And I would also ask for that staff member to not ever be in contact with my child ever again.
Okay, perfect. What if I disagree with the ARD committee's recommendations?
So you didn't disagree with the ARD committee because guess what, love? You are part of the ARD committee. You didn't disagree with the IEP team because you're part of the IEP team. So it's very important when that happens that we make sure as school-based members you're not messing up, because I sit in meetings all the time and we go, hey, well, it looks like Shannon doesn't agree with the IEP team here in Mississippi. Oh, that would be impossible because Shannon is part of the IEP team. So school-based members, I love you. Don't make that mistake. So if the parent and the IEP team or the ARD committee team are in non-consensus, then we sign in non-consensus, and then we offer the parents a 10-day reconvene or outside of those 10 days based on availability. But we use those 10 days as we're recessed or longer to go back and get other data. We make decisions solely on data, and data can either be charted or screen shared, or it's your opinion. And Andrew F., March 22nd, 2017, the U.S. Supreme Court Justices says a teacher's opinion, a teacher's observation is an opinion that can't be verified. So unless it's something I can chart, I can produce, I can print out or project, it's not data.
Okay. All right. This one is definitely from a teacher. As a student that qualified for a specific learning disability in reading, but the student is also 2 years behind in math and has difficulties even with writing, but did not qualify with written expression or any type of math learning disability. She wants to know if it's okay to write goals even though they didn't qualify in the area.
Yeah, and so that again is in the Andrew F. decision, ENDREW, F is in Frank. There's a Q&A letter from the Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP, from December 2017. So we write IEP goals based on a student's unique circumstance. We don't write IEP goals based on their eligibility. At minimum, if you have 3 eligibilities, we would have at least 3 goals based around those eligibilities. But if you have autism and a speech impairment, you can write a reading goal. If you have a visual impairment and you struggle in math, you can write a math goal. So that is shenanigans and that is antiquated behavior and thinking. But we've always been allowed, even since December 2nd, 1975, to write an IEP goal where there's an educational need.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to kick it over to Christina.
Okay, and while you're kicking it, I'm going to go grab a water. But just talk amongst yourself. I'm listening. All right, I'm listening. I'm still listening.
We're still listening.
I'm still listening
because
hydration is key. If we could get Gatorade to sponsor me, I would appreciate it. Just have them call. My phone number is 1-800-SIZZLE. So if y'all could just call me. That's probably a different phone number. We probably shouldn't use it.
You can always try.
These gas prices are high. I'm just saying. Okay, Christina.
Right. I'm ready.
Okay.
So, actually, to follow up question to the AAC chatting, can we pull data logs from Proloquo to go?
I'm pretty sure with every device, just like with your cell phone, like when your cell phone tells you that you spent, 17 hours a day on the TikTok, there's a way to pull that. So, absolutely.
All right. How do I make an argument for my son with Down syndrome to be mainstreamed for kindergarten?
So it's not about an argument. What does the data show? So 2 things that I always train on. What does the law say? What does the data show? So if you got a kindergartner, you'd be hard pressed to find a reason why he couldn't be in public in the general ed classroom. So we go across content area, right? We look at language arts, we look at reading, we look at math, we look at science, we look at social studies, we look at music, we look at art, we look at PE, and where is the most appropriate place to implement his IEP goals. Sometimes that's going to be in general ed, sometimes that's going to be in a resource, sometimes that's going to be in a self-contained setting. But it's not a one and done. We look at the most appropriate place to implement their IEP goals with supplementary aids and supports.
Excellent. Okay. Do I try to work with the school or should I file OCR complaint for non-implementation of accommodations?
Both. Right? So you might need to file an OCR complaint and still try to work with the school. Working with the school is never going to go away. You have to realize that conflict and disagreement is part of the human experience. It just is. So for you to disagree with the IEP committee is not unusual. If you know that the IEP is not being implemented, if the student's IEP service minutes are being denied, and the accommodations are not being logged or delivered with efficacy, then I would file with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights.
All right, and then we have a para asking. She said, my lead teacher is not in compliance with all 6 of our students' IEPs. What can I do to help my kids? Well,
as most of my wonderful partners on Special Education Academy, they left public education because of that same situation. I wouldn't recommend that you get yourself in trouble or get yourself fired on behalf of somebody else. If you think that your principal is ethical enough to listen to your information and your concerns in private and address them, do that. But I certainly wouldn't want you to risk your job. And thank you for serving kiddos. We love special ed teachers and paras. As advocates, probably 20% of our clients are school-based members.
All right. What was that law again about teacher opinions?
So it is a decision. So March 22nd, 2017 was a decision from Andrew F. versus Douglas County School District. And it is the Supreme Court decision that rules our land. And it simply says that the LEA, the local education agency, has an obligation, a duty, a responsibility to write an IEP that enables the student to make progress in light of their unique circumstances. Later in that decision, one of the Supreme Court justices said that often in IEPs, especially in Andrew's case, there were many teachers' opinions, and the Supreme Court justice said a teacher's opinion, a teacher's observation is simply an opinion that can't be verified, right? So it's pretty easy to figure that out. If you and I both see a car wreck and the police officer asks us both what we saw, we see something different. So an observation without data to back it up is just an opinion that can't be verified.
Okay, my son is 6, has high support needs, autism. On the first day of kindergarten, they told me they can't meet his safety needs.
What are his safety needs?
All right, Tracy, if you can answer that.
Yeah, and I would just say, so I would just say based on that, Christina, if a school told me that I can't meet his safety needs, what they're saying is I can't meet his educational needs, right? So your safety needs, your feeding needs, your diapering needs, your academic needs, your behavior needs, your counseling needs, your functional needs, your vision needs, your hearing needs, all of those are educational needs. Thank you for letting me know that. Let's have a meeting and talk about out-of-district placement at the expense of the district.
Then how can I find out about hiring your team for my son?
Yeah, if you are interested in representation from us, just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
All right. The special day class has a separate playground than the general education peers. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, and that's not unusual that you would have different playgrounds that are, some of them are accessed directly. There's a door directly to the playground. So that's not unusual. A lot of that is set up for safety, which I don't disagree with. You want to make sure that they have the equal access to education and curriculum and opportunities that other kids do. And you want to make sure that the playground is handicap accessible and ADA compliant.
Okay, and this one's going to give me heart palpitations. My daughter started kindergarten last week. Mm-hmm. She has speech apraxia and developmental delay. They won't allow her a device at school and no IEP.
Do you have that in writing? I would say everything has to be quantified in writing. So I would email them and say, based on your denial, I'm just confirming our conversation. I'm assuming it's a conversation that you had. You're going to want to ask for special education testing in all areas, and the school has 15 days to respond to that. A lot of times parents and either school-based members, we do a lot of talking, but we don't have anything in writing. So make sure that whatever is going on is in writing.
All right. Should 7th grade student mentors be taking data?
What? So children are not part of another child's IEP. So I just got off a call today. I don't know, they run together. I won't tell you where in Michigan. And we have a 3rd grader who has a peer tutor. What do you get those on Amazon? Is that just like, does that come at, is it Prime? Is it free delivery? What are you talking about? Adults teach children. Yeah, Mama, I yelled too when she read that question. Come on, people. There's no peer tutors, right? Did that peer get like a check for federal funds? No. Mm-mm.
Okay, what do I tell the school? They keep asking me to pick a time for tutoring because my daughter didn't pass STAR.
Yeah, Muffin. Is it Muffin? Dear school, my child will not be participating in tutoring for STAR. Thank you for the opportunity for accelerated instruction. We'll be passing this year. Thank you. Muffin, Buttercup, that usually is going to apply to anybody. Woo!
Uh-huh. Yes, that's, that would do it for me. That would. Can a parent request a more restrictive environment when a student is above grade level?
Yeah, I mean, I have a child that was actually gifted that went to resource because that's where he could focus and get his work done. And so I hate the phrase I hate the word restrictive environment. I sub that out for the most appropriate setting. So LRE, I call it MAS, right? What is the most appropriate setting? And if that is general ed, awesome. If that's the playground, even better. If that's the principal's office, awesome. But what is the most appropriate setting for that student to be successful?
Okay. My son's IEP eligibility is developmental delay because they said his autism didn't impact his
yeah. So the great thing about DD is nothing. There's nothing great about the developmental delay eligibility. I don't know why the federal government still lets these 7 states use it. It starts at 3 and it evaporates on your 9th birthday. So I've never had a child that was DD that I couldn't get them eligible for their real eligibility. So if they say that, then I would say I disagree with your evaluation. It's content, summary, and conclusion, and I'm requesting an IE at the expense of the district.
Perfect. Then what do I do when my child has a 1-to-1 in their IEP, but the district can't find anyone?
Log it. That's compensatory time that will be owed to that student. And here's what I want you to know. Everybody listening, y'all listening, this year, and you're going to be mad about it, that's okay. We have even less certified teachers or special ed teachers in the classroom, and schools are not even notifying parents. So I think of an educational product with the same equity as a medical product. So if we said, hey, you know what, Tammy, we're not going to be able to give him insulin for 9 weeks. You understand, right? We have an insulin giver shortage. And if you're okay with that, you and I are not cut from the same cloth. I would never be okay with that. That goes against everything that I know about serving kids with disabilities.
Okay, so instead, I thought I had to agree with my son's diagnosis, so I accepted it, and he hasn't been tested for 5 years now.
What? I feel like y'all are making these questions up. Whew! So I would call a review IEP meeting so that we can do a reevaluation of existing educational data to look at new testing in all areas.
All right, you'll enjoy this one.
Mm-hmm.
Can a school threaten to withdraw your student out of the school district, withdraw for out of school district approval when demanded they follow the IEP and provide data?
So the school can do anything. You have to realize that things are only illegal when parents respond appropriately and complain appropriately. So the reason some schools run over parents is because they've done that a lot and nobody gives them any pushback. You have to give the right pushback to the right entity to bring about change. So you have to know, is that a state complaint? Is that something we should go to mediation, or should I file with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights? And those are the things that we train on in the academy. Those are certainly things that we train on the 2-day intensive and in the mastermind.
Can a school dismiss all IEP kids 10 minutes early daily due to safety? Quote unquote.
Yeah. And I just want to know when you're going to make up those 10 minutes. Since there's 180 days times 10 minutes, and I have no idea what that equals. I bet you owe me 30 hours, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a good one.
I like
all
it.
Good.
I like a good one. Yeah.
They're all making me a little today. Okay. The OCD seems to be on the menu tonight. My daughter's in 3rd grade, and her device, I'm pretty sure, doesn't make it out of her bag. I asked her teacher about it. She said, "What's that?" We're about 2 weeks into school. What should I do?
So, I would call a review IEP meeting. I always give people an opportunity to fix that which is a problem, right? But if they're not using it, they're not using it. That's why you have to pull the minutes when you get home. The Office of Civil Rights is very particular and very serious about the teacher of record being able to communicate with the same efficacy. If a student has augmented communication, that means if she can communicate with the other children in the room at a certain level, she needs to be able to communicate with the same level with the child that has the voice output communication device. So the federal government takes your ability to communicate very seriously.
Absolutely. All right. Do you do virtual advocacy?
It's all I do. It's all I've been doing since Friday, March 13th, 2020. But I do still wear pantyhose because that's what's really important in special education. So today, or I don't know, whatever day it is, I'm in Wisconsin, I'm in Florida, I'm in Michigan, and we just log on. So we follow SOA's application. So that's the State Office of Administrative Hearings in Texas, and they do all of their hearings virtual. The U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights does all their mediations virtual. State mediations are done virtual. It's a much better modality for me. That way none of my parents, we don't have to wrestle them to the ground. And if my parent and I need to take a break, then we just say, hey, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. If I need to screen share a document, I can do that. If somebody else needs to screen share a document, they can do that. I know everybody's name because they're on the screen. A bunch of people sitting at a circular table shoved into a little room, not the best modality to have a legal meeting about a federal contract.
All right, I'm going to ask two more, and then Miss Quinn is going to be on it.
Okay.
All right. Right. Okay. General ed teachers suggesting shorter days because of behavior issues. Is that normal?
Well, it's illegal. We don't shorten your day. The school district has a legal right to provide your child an education if they're in the criminal justice system, if they're in a psychiatric unit, if they're in ICU, if they're at the campus.
Okay, and then can a SPED student in Gen Ed be required to eat their lunch in the SPED classroom instead of cafeteria?
No. What? I don't know. Some of you, it sounds like you go to Make It Up As You Go independent school district. That is a school district that it's not in compliance.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
If a child was tested with the Woodcock-Johnson and their math calculation score is 72 and their broad mathematics score is 74, what does that mean?
That means they're struggling in math. So it's very important that when you do the cognitive profile that you ask for all 7 Gs, right? All cognitive processes. And that when you do formal achievement, you ask for all 5 areas. You usually get 3. So the regular 3 are reading, ELA, language arts, writing, and then math. You want to additionally ask for OE and LC, oral expression, and listening comprehension.
Perfect. Okay, here's another question about the Woodcock-Johnson. What is the difference between the Woodcock-Johnson and the WISC-5, which my child was tested on both of them?
Well, the WISC-5 is 5 areas of brain skills. The Woodcock-Johnson is the most lengthy IQ test that's used in educational settings. It will produce the most subtests. It's amazing. But you're not going to really want to deliver that to a child that has a great speech impairment, or they couldn't emotionally or neurologically tolerate the time that it takes to test. So, it just depends on what you asked for. You're not going to get something you didn't ask for. So always ask for all 7 Gs, even if you're in Indiana. Did I say that? Yeah. I went round and round and round 2 weeks ago with this lady that wasn't going to do it in the end. I know what she did at the end. She did it. You got to stick the landing. Stop taking their no, right? Because testing does one of two things. It identifies or it eliminates. And we need to know all of that.
Perfect. Okay, Tracy Lynn is asking, my son is 6. Do they have to provide bus transportation?
So every child in school is required to be provided bus transportation. If he's in special education and the nature of his special education requires transportation, then yes. So if your special education is around reading comprehension, then you wouldn't meet eligibility for special education transportation. If you struggle with, regulation, emotionality, comprehension, safety, medical needs, then you may qualify for transportation as a related service under IDEA.
Okay, perfect. Yessie C would like to know, because my child elopes, what law can back me up so I can take my son to class once we're at school?
So there's no law. So you can take your child to the front door, but after that, the school district is responsible for educating him.
Can you talk about a private therapist coming to school and principal not allowing it?
I can't. Schools are not required to let people that are not employees work in their campuses, and I completely understand that. I also completely understand how frustrating it can be for parents. I know that I've had private therapists on IEP meetings, and even that gets to be a little bit competitive or abrasive sometimes. You have to realize that the clinical model, there's 3 models, right? There's the therapeutic model, there's a medical model, and there's an educational model. Rarely do they play nice together. They're 3 totally different models, and they're beneficial for a student, but they're not the same thing. So in that way, I certainly understand and the position of the school district.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. This person asked, what do I tell the school when they keep asking me to pick a time for tutoring because she didn't pass the STAR?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the offer for AI accelerated instruction. We're going to pass this year. Go Bobcats. Yeah, or whatever your mascot is. I feel like everybody's mascot should be a Bobcat, right? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry I hit the button. What do you do if the school won't put a consistent one-on-one out there for the child?
So if you're not being delivered a free appropriate public education, if they're not delivering the conformity of the IEP, that's what we agreed upon, then you file that your student is being denied a free appropriate public education either at the state level or at the federal level.
Okay. TC12910 is asking, I have an IEP meeting on Friday. They don't have a draft copy to me yet to review. Is that normal?
It's very normal. And let's talk about that. There is no legal requirement anywhere on the planet that says you are due a draft at all. It doesn't exist. The only conversation or language under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, is it talks about that an IEP has to be given to the parent without an expense. It would be great if I could have a draft because then I could come fully prepared to participate in the meeting. So here is the email that I send. Dear school, please provide me a full draft copy of the IEP document, knowing that it's just a draft and all decisions are made in the meeting, period. Without that full draft copy of the IEP document, it is unlikely that myself or my client will be able to make an informed decision and we would have to reschedule. We look forward to working together. And almost always, I get the full draft copy of the IEP document.
Okay, that's great. Okay, you may have answered this question already, but it's a good one. So, how can I find out about hiring your team for my son?
So just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a para. My lead is not in compliance for all 6 of the IEPs. What can I do to help the kiddos?
You can just do the best job that you can do. Stay students focused, but I wouldn't risk your own job to let somebody else know about that.
Do I try to work with the school or do I file an OCR complaint? Non-implementation of accommodations.
Yeah. So we've already read this question, but still,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's a good question. We're always going to work with the school district. That's the way, and until the day they graduate, right? Or we keep them home. But sometimes in working with them, you have to, exercise your procedural rights to look at one of your 6 dispute resolution options. Sorry, somebody on the other screen was eating a child's arm. So.
My son is begging for speech help. He has a horrible speech impediment when he's talking or reading. What can I do?
So you can ask for a full speech and language evaluation to include pragmatic from the school district.
All right. How many students is too many on the caseload for a single resource teacher?
I would never know. So, it depends on the level of need of your students, right? You might have 3 students that need 3 adults. You might have 10 students that can be taught by 1 teacher. It depends on the level of need and the children's disabilities. I wish that there was a number I could give you, but there's not.
Okay, so this person wants to know, how can I advocate on my child's behalf for a quicker result?
So I don't know that I want quicker. I want correct, right? So you're going to have to commit to the time that it takes in IEP meetings with the right data to make informed decisions. And sometimes you just don't have that, right? So we would highly recommend that, you come to our trainings. They're the best of the best. You just don't have the skills that you need just by being a passionate parent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any school obligations for students that will be in special ed past age 18?
Not an obligation, but students that are greatly impacted by their disability and are on prerequisite skills or an alternate curriculum or access points. If you're in Florida, there should be a consideration for the 18 to 21 program. That means the student has acquired all of their credits to graduate from the state standards, and we're looking at working on those vocational skills and all of their post-secondary goals, so gainful employment, independent living, and further education.
All right, and we're ready for Alicia.
Okay.
Just to let you know, his arm is spiked.
Okay, it was her own child's arm that she was biting, so nobody needs to call the arm.
I like deep pressure, Miss Karen. Don't make it sound like my mom's crazy.
Oh, why? I think that that's the answer to that still out.
We're going to move on to the question. Okay. So, I have had this one, I've seen a few times. What can I do if they refuse to put my child in general education because there are no other kids with an IEP in that class?
Well, first of all, I would say that's none of my business. Of the special ed to general ed ratio, please don't discuss that in front of me and my client again.
I agree. Okay. The district is making SPED teachers deliver resource and inclusion in the general education classroom. Is this correct?
Well, you didn't deliver it. You can't deliver resource in general ed. That's like me not putting hair color on my natural hair. Yeah, it's not a thing. Yeah.
All right. SPED school social worker. Should I report illegal activities to the DOE? Will that risk my license?
I wouldn't imagine it would risk your license. I think it's actually under your scope of responsibilities for ethics for your state.
Perfect. How do you handle an IEP student not receiving their full therapy time, 30 minutes?
I always give the school to fix up what they messed up. And depending on their response, determines my next steps. So I want to listen to the district, city, or county, what they're going to do to resolve something. And then after that, I'm going to talk to my client about what I believe our next best options are.
Perfect.
Look at all the letters behind Caitlin Nichols' names. There's so many.
She's at the bottom. I can't
How do I get letters? Can we just make my letters fantastic? Is that like a degree?
Yes, it is. Oh, I see it now. Okay. So, are SPED teachers allowed to pull general education students during SPED pullout times?
What? You guys are so funny. I didn't know that you were also comedians just like me. Wonk, wonk. I know you're kidding. No, you're not allowed to do that.
Okay, and this one is just somebody who would like you to know that they love you.
Oh, I love you right
I think
back.
she said she was a SPED teacher and a mom, and she learns a lot from you, but I can't find it now. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you go over the 6 resolution thingies?
I can. Your six resolution dispute options. Number 1, a state written complaint. Number 2, mediation. Number 3, a due process hearing. Number 4, dispute resolution session. Number 5, I feel like I missed one. OCR complaint with the U.S. Department of Education. And number 1 is a district complaint. That is called a waste of time. But those are your 6 dispute resolution options. So number 1, let's do them again. Your 6 dispute resolution options. Number 1, a district complaint. Number 2, a state written complaint. Number 3, mediation. Number 4, a due process hearing complaint. Number 5, a dispute resolution session. And number 6, a federal complaint with U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. And any of our team members can help you in representation of any of those 6 dispute resolution options. Because if you're going to file, you want to do it correctly.
Perfect. Okay, is it legal to have kindergarten through 6th grade, mild, severe, all combined in one self-contained classroom?
Yes. Is it right? No. So there's a big difference between right and legal.
Amen. School wanted my son in general education, pre-K or kindergarten, I don't know that, but is having behavioral issues and can't provide a one-to-one. What do I do?
So if it's pre-K and it's not special education, there's nothing you can do. If it's ECSE, early childhood special education, then you can invoke his right to a free, appropriate public education.
Perfect. Is there a maximum number of days a SPED's child can get kicked off a school bus?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. It's terrible.
Perfect. What can I do with being 18 students over what Ohio revised code says is my legal caseload?
I mean, I would reach out to the Department of Education. That's a problem.
Okay, how can I move forward with the mediation due process if they won't respond?
So I don't know who they is, but mediation request is filed with your state. So if I want to mediate with a family in Florida, I file with my friend Manny Diaz at the Department of Education in Florida. I don't file with the district, so that might be why you're not getting a response.
Okay, and this is a total different person, different question, just also about mediation.
Okay.
If you go to mediation with OCR, how long does the school have to agree or disagree to the mediation?
So if you go to OCR mediation, it's because the school agreed to mediation. So I'm going to greatly caution you on going to mediation with a federal complaint. And we'll just leave it at that. Okay? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Should behavior students be suspended for physical aggression? They are in a behavior focus room.
I mean, that's a really broad question, right? Is the behavior that was exhibited that day that required a consideration of discipline a characteristic or a manifestation of their disability? So I had a kiddo, stay with me. The mom said, I heard you're the best of the best. I said, you heard right. And she said, my child's having an MDR and I want you to help me get him out of it. I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, he has a disability. He had a reading comprehension disability. I said, what did he do? And she said, he brought pot brownies to school. Baking, not usually a manifestation of a reading comprehension deficit. So Every situation is different. When you're looking at a manifestation, determination, resolution, you're usually looking at kiddos that have neurological differences, behavior differences, OHI, Tourette's, seizures, epilepsy, autism, those sorts of things. And is this behavior, can it be linked to his disability? When you go to an MDR, you really need to know what you're doing or have representation. But no, making pop brownies is not a characteristic of a reading comprehension disability.
I didn't think so.
Not currently.
You never know what could happen though.
Yeah.
Okay, and how do we move forward if they won't return our calls or emails?
So I would reach out to the executive. I would reach out to the superintendent. Hey, dear superintendent, this is day 792. I've emailed the school every day and they're choosing to deny responding to me. How should I proceed? Or the best thing you can do is pick up your phone and dial the superintendent's secretary and just say, if I don't get a response by 5 o'clock, I will be filing a civil rights complaint on your district. And that always, all of a sudden, the phone rings. It's amazing. It's like magic.
Okay, and then Catherine wants to know why you cannot pull a special education student and a general education student for small groups at the same time. It helps not to be singled out.
So small groups are not special education. So all students are general ed students, right? Some of them receive special ed services. If your special ed student in your room receives RTI, that'd be a small group. So that's not what we're talking about. You can't take a general ed student to resource, right? But certainly if that's appropriate for you to pull them and you can maximize that time, do that.
Perfect. And then how do you handle an IEP meeting for an autistic nonverbal 9-year-old who is re-entering school since the pandemic?
So how I handle it is I first make sure that we have a robust evaluation done to address all of his needs, all 8 areas, which would be a speech and language evaluation to include pragmatics, sociological evaluation, medical, physical, an IQ evaluation with all 7 Gs, formal achievement to include reading, math, writing, listening comprehension, oral expression, adaptive behavior, a full psychological evaluation in all areas, and then of course any related or instructional service.
Perfect.
See how I did that with my fingers? Did you see that?
Did I see it? Mm-hmm.
You seen it?
Ma'am.
Oh, sorry. It's 7:49, ma'am.
I know. Oh, that was the end of our rapid fire questions for the evening. I'm sorry for the 60 of you that commented after this, but we're going to have to wrap this up tonight.
She doesn't mean that. She doesn't mean that. If you have a question for us, just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. We would love for you to join us for free in 10 minutes at Special Education Academy. Could you tell them? Maybe our announcer could tell you how to join for free in 10 minutes.
In the voice. Use the voice.
Ma'am, I don't need you to tell me to use the voice. It just comes naturally. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to www.specialeducationacademy.com. You're going to click on the training tab at the top of the screen. You're going to see these 3 very beautiful boxes. One is for our mastermind. The middle one is for the academy. And the last one is for our last virtual 2-day training of the year. What we're talking about right now is the academy. So go ahead and click on that middle box. You're going to fill out all of your information, and then there's going to be some blue words that says coupon code. You're going to click on that, and in all caps, you're going to put TikTok Live. That's T for Tina, I for Indigo, K for Karen, T for Taiwan, O for Oliver, K for Karen, L for Levi, I for Indigo, V for Victory, E for Elephant, TikTok Live, all caps. And then you're going to join us in 10 minutes. And then for the next 15 days, you'll have access to all of our previous trainings. And then after that, you either cancel your membership and you won't be charged, or you just stay in there for $47 a month and just keep hanging out with us and the crew.
Yes, and for all of you that ask how to be an advocate, we want to train you. So if you have questions about our different types of training models, email advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. But the last 2-day intensive open live will be Saturday, September 16th and Sunday, September 17th. You want to be in that. Our trainings are exceptional. You will be stunned at how much information there is to know and how much information we give you so that you can be the most important and the most successful and the most equipped person at the 504 IEP table. We get it right for the child. We get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys.
Wait. I forgot to tell them that if they needed a visual representation of everything that I just said, you just go to the pinned video on Karen's profile. Okay, love you. Bye.
All right. Bye, y'all.